What's new with you?
Lots.
Yes.
Lots and lots. By the time this is done, I don't know if it'll be released, but I have 7 of my 12 episodes that I'm now officially, I can say it on here, I guess, because it'll all be recorded. But I sent a video in for BP a few weeks ago that I made about a local investor and tried my hardest just to see if I could make something cool. They freaked out. They loved it. And I'm making 12 of them, and we're hoping to release them right before BP Con. So I've recorded
now?
It's not official. It's official on my end. It's official on my end. It's not official public yet. I have to get all 12 of them done, but I have 7 recorded. I have 1 that I'm going to record tomorrow. I have 2 that I'll record on Thursday. That'll put me at 10. And then I'll do Roderick. That's 11. And then I think I might do Dan Kidd, or I got to get some more. I got to get another female. Two more females. I don't know. So I'm going to record some probably extras. I'll probably end up recording 13 or 14 and only releasing 12. But it's going incredibly well. And it's going incredibly well.
Yeah, they've been good from what I have not seen because it's not official. But
yep.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
And my flip closed $68,000 NOI on a $70,000 all-in cost.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking sweet. Hell yeah, that's good.
Well,
I close on my duplex next Monday, and I didn't tell you, but actually I did tell you. Yeah. Anyway, so the only other thing that's new with me is I finally got my first referral check from a real estate agent, and it was more than I thought it was going to be after taxes and broker fees came out. So that's why, for those of you who see that I went and splurged on this camera I'd been talking about for like 2 months, I was talking myself out of it because the one I had was effective. But then I made about as much as this camera cost me more than I was expecting. And I was like, yep, that's it. Sign from the heavens that it is. I wanted to upgrade. I just needed an excuse. So
the EOS R?
Yeah.
I'll teach you how to use it.
Yeah. You and YouTube. That's part of my journal today is sit down and just YouTube through some tutorial stuff and pick people's brains. I just need to get it set up just decent enough to do a video. And then from there I can pull it down and figure out the webcam piece and everything else.
Yeah, you'll need the cam link. Although Canon just released a new piece of firmware that might let you do it without it, but I don't know. It depends on what kind of machine you have, I think. I don't know how good that's going to be. But I'll teach you how to do it because I've set mine up now in the EOS R with as you can see, there's no display because you gotta mess with the settings a little bit. Otherwise, you'll get some of the,
the rounded.
You'll get see if I can can I?
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, on the bottom where it's all the actual display from the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but.
All right. Well, He just jumped into the chat. So real quick, I don't know. Do you know Josh Elledge, right?
We met at FinCon. Actually, I haven't talked to him only a little bit since. I'm excited to talk to him. Yeah, he's an impressive fella.
Yeah. So this is gonna be fun. So this is not real estate, but he's built a pretty solid business and helped me build mine. So for those of you,
and he knows cameras.
For those of you who like the angry Marine rants, that's all him. So him telling me that my persona sucked. So all right, we're gonna let him.
Wait, I helped.
Yeah, you helped too. But he was the one who first sat me down and was like, "Dude, you're a Marine and you're nice. It's conflicting. Be an asshole on YouTube." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then that video did very well. So.
You're listening to the Military Millionaire Podcast, a show about real estate investing for the working class. Stay tuned as we explore ways to help you improve your finances, build wealth through real estate, and become a person that is worth knowing.
Hey guys, if you're looking to take your investing, business, life, or just yourself to the next level, then I have something for you. The War Room Real Estate Military Mastermind Group is a mastermind group that meets weekly in small groups of 5 to 6 people to help you hold yourself accountable and really experience that growth. But we also have a monthly guest speaker that we bring in, and we've had guest speakers that talk about mindfulness, taxes. We're bringing in somebody to talk about marketing. We bring in very specific topics that will adhere to very broad, any kind of real estate investing or entrepreneurship that you want to do, and we'll really help you out. And we let you ask these speakers questions and get very personal with them. And then back to the small groups, weekly accountability for what you're trying to achieve, and just being surrounded by like-minded people. And they say your network is your net worth. I know that's an overused phrase, but I recommend that you check it out. So just shoot an email to wrmastermind@gmail.com. Once again, that's wrmastermind@gmail.com, and we'll send you some more information.
Hey, what's up, Military Millionaires? I'm your host, David Pere, with my co-host, Alex Felice, and today we get to bring you a really cool episode. This is Josh Elledge. He is a Navy veteran and a serial entrepreneur. He's built a lot of businesses, but the first one that went fairly large was Savings Angel. He did very, very well with that, and now he's the founder and CEO of UpMyInfluence.com, which I have personally used to design my press media kit and redesign my LinkedIn and change my LinkedIn profile, and he's really helped me out with my business. In fact, as you may have heard in the intro, he's the man, the myth, the legend behind the Angry Marine Rants. So if you like those videos, this was all his idea. So Josh, welcome to the show.
David, thank you so much.
Why don't you just give a little backstory to the audience about really just your story?
Yeah, so straight out of high school, we had a recruiter come into my journalism class, and he brought with him a guy that graduated from our high school a few years back, and he was now a photographer in the Navy. And, he's like, man, this is awesome. And I'm just like 2 years out of like high school. Here I am like hanging out of helicopters and shooting video and shooting photos and stuff. And it is the life. And me and a buddy, we were just like, oh, it's like, just like, oh my gosh, that would be so incredible. And, and it was kind of funny because he was like, man, you don't want to go to college right now. Go out and do stuff if you want to make it big in journalism. And it's actually not bad advice. On-the-job training is, in my opinion, way more valuable for anyone that's interested in a career in journalism. It's so funny, because we hire journalism grads or PR grads today. And I mean, I can tell you exactly what employers are looking for. They kind of don't care how you did on your midterm in your junior year. They really don't care at all. What they want to know is, how many followers do you have? Let's take a look at your social media accounts. What kind of stuff are you producing right now? That they care way more about what are you doing. So, for me, my buddy ended up not getting in, but I did. And so went to boot camp, and then went to a year of journalism school at Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis, just outside of Indianapolis. It's like a couple of bases I've been decommed since then. But it was a great experience. And, one moment that I had, you remember the movie Good Morning Vietnam, right? With Robin Williams?
Yeah. So
I met the real Adrian Cronauer, and not as funny, very outspoken. And, I had a really great moment. I remember, I'll never forget the one thing that he shared to our audience, to the class, aside from making some pretty inappropriate comments to a particular attendee. He's like, what are they going to do to me? I'm a civilian, But he really was an advocate for serving your audience and putting the needs of your audience first, above all else, even the chain of command. Because ultimately they are at the top of the chain of your command. And that's who you have an obligation, a moral obligation to serve. And so, one axiom that I've tried to live by in business is try to serve audiences with no conditions, with no ulterior motives. I'm not trying to rope someone into buying my thing, or I'm not trying to get them to join my thing, whatever that thing is, which unfortunately there are far too many people out there that's what they do. And so it ends up giving marketers a bad name. And so therefore we are in the midst, and again, I've been studying and leading consumer behavior for 13 years. We are in the marketing apocalypse. It's because consumers today have never been more jaded. They've never been more skeptical. They've never been more resistant to being sold to. So we just, do everything in our power to avoid commercials, being sold to, ads. If we feel like we're in some kind of funnel now, people are just like, this feels icky. So what rules today? What rules today is authenticity. What rules today is is giving first without the expectation of return. And so if you're in business for yourself, you're not doing this, and you're wondering why you're stagnating in business, you might take a look at what your opinion of audiences is. If you think that audiences are just there to manipulate, trick, and upsell and tripwire and all this other nonsense, okay, that could be a clue. People know what you're doing. You need to start treating audiences like they're just as smart as you and probably smarter. And so you just can't get away with the old used car sales techniques anymore. You just need to be authentic, give as much value as you possibly can, and just trust that audiences know how to find you, know what to do. So while we've been having this conversation, assuming that my name is spelled right on the show description or whatever, a lot of people have already Googled me, and I know that. And so we'll talk about what you do when you know that audiences know how to use Google and know how to find you in today's age.
That's awesome. I love that advice. And I'm just going to touch on the fact that I love where you said that they care about how many followers you have and what you're doing. I have noticed that I get spammed, and I call it spam because that's what it feels like, by people at least once a week saying, hey, I'll help you grow your following. I'll help you do this. I'll help you do that. And the first thing I always look at is their profile. And they're always like, oh, well, I help manage all these accounts. And I'm like, well, that's great. Like, you could manage an account with 100,000 followers, but you have 900. And like, not to say that they aren't capable, but why am I even going to give somebody a shot if they can't build their own platform? And that's from just a consumer standpoint, for like looking for someone to help me. I'm not looking to hire them per se,
right?
But well, I guess it kind of would be. But so I think that's great advice, that like, you need to get out there and do it.
It really is. And so, we have to understand that, everything is fair game today. So your internet presence is very much like your internet dating profile. And, you could talk a good game in the chat. I mean, I haven't done any internet dating in a long time. I've been married for 24 years. I'll be married 25 years toward the end of this year. But, again, you wouldn't talk a good game in chatting someone up, and then they look at your dating profile and they're like, yeah, this dude is a major loser, right? And it's not that you're a major loser. It's that your dating profile just looks really bad, and it looks sketchy. You got to spend some time on this stuff. And is in some ways it's superficial. Yeah, it's pretty superficial. Having a LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn profile being a representative of your value or your kind of your worth. Yeah, that's extremely superficial. But it's how we all do business today. Before you do business with anyone, you're going to check them out. And so if you know all the moves on the chessboard, you may as well play a few moves ahead and just know that, okay, if audiences are going to take a look at my website, I better take a look at my website. If audiences are going to judge me based on what's in my email signature, I better look at what's in my email signature. And I'm not saying it needs to be, like Mozart. It doesn't have to be perfect. So don't get paralysis analysis on this, but you do need to be mindful of what other people are looking at. If you are a speaker and you charge $100,000 per speaking engagement, what would you imagine your speaking website would look like? It would probably look amazing. The speaker reels and the testimonials and, the video and the everything, the speaker kit, it's going to be locked down. I mean, if you're someone who's at that level professionally, and so that would be one thing. If, on the other hand, you're a speaker that is just, I don't know, you're just doing some free workshops here and there, okay? And you kind of envision in your mind, what would that speaker's website look like, okay? You kind of get an idea. So people are going to say, okay, if you just ask $10,000 for this speaking engagement, I'm going to look at your website and I'm going to look at your poker tells. I'm like, do you look like someone who gets paid $10,000 to speak? And if not, it's not that I won't hire you, but you kind of got some red flags going up.
Hey, Josh, I love that you spoke about authenticity, because I personally kind of hate marketing as an industry for the exact same reasons that you said. And I think a lot of people, I think they put up with it even more than me, even though I think you're right. A lot of people don't like it. They don't like shallow sales, right? And they don't like being hey, look, you don't really care about me. You just want me to like your thing. That's all you really care about.
Exactly.
I wrote a rant about this on Facebook this morning, actually. And so I feel like my message and my content is very authentic, but I have no followers. What's the blend, the balance between like, look, you have to go out and you have to try to effectively spread your message while still being authentic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So thank you, Alex. Like the reality is that people will come to you for your leadership and your attractive character. They will. Your wisdom, your experience, does it seem like this is someone who can make my life better? Can I learn from them? But they will stay for the sense of community, and they will stay for your imperfections, and they will stay for...
I win.
Yeah, right. So, so now I recommend you still got to be prolific. I mean, you still have to produce as much content as you can. And eventually, and at the beginning, it's very much that, that curve. It's not linear. I mean, it is exponential. It's a grind to get it going. It really is. And so to anybody else who's like, you're just kind of at the early stages of getting that audience going, I listen, I'm with you. But you just got to break out of that first kind of 6 to 12 months. And if you keep at it, like if you're on YouTube, we see this consistently with YouTubers, if you can produce 3 or more videos a week and you can do that for 4 months, chances are you're going to start building a following, even if you're not that great. You just will. And you'll get better at it by doing it. It's the reality. And so, same thing with podcasts. Now, today, there are a lot more podcasts than there were like 7 years ago when I first started. So it's a little noisier just because there's so much inventory to choose from now. Yes, there's more listeners, but it's just it's a much more noisy market. But again, you just got to pick something, stay with it, make sure that you truly are serving an audience. You've got something that makes you memorable. David, when you and I chatted, about your persona really matters. People love to be able to say, that's the guy or that's the gal, the ... And you're really, really memorable. And you really lean into that personality. So if you see, I've been on TV now more than 700 times. And if you see me do a consumer segment, there's absolutely a personality. I mean, it's my authentic personality. Like I really geek out on some things, and I'm not afraid to show people, what kind of a nerd I am when it comes to, for example, saving money and kind of knowing how to like life hack everything. And so that's my persona on TV. And like I said, I really lean into it. And so therefore, especially like in our heyday with Savings Angel, I was known as kind of this coupon king kind of guy. Like, and it was just like, I love figuring out how to work the system and do so ethically. That was my persona. And journalists knew me as that, and they'd always call me in. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to be in the mushy middle with your message. You kind of want to be, I'd say not at 90, 100%, because you don't want to be on the lunatic fringe, but you want to be at like 80%. Like you want to be like, okay, this gal really stands for something, and I want to be a part of that. But that generally is really, really helpful when you're kind of coming up with, your who, what, when, where, why, who am I, mission, purpose, values, all of that sort of thing. But definitely lean into being memorable. And so that's why David, and I'm like, dude, why aren't you like really doing that? Like Marine Corps drill sergeant, blah, 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 getting in people's faces. It fits. You got the mustache for it. You may as well. So
love it. All right. I just want to real quickly, I think we skipped over this, and you got a great business idea there, Josh. I don't know why you're not helping people do some dating profile coaching and consulting, guaranteed to, 25 years of marriage, guaranteed to you do some critiquing. I don't know if you want to pivot, but
I actually went to college for family therapy. That was my undergrad, and ended up doing so much internet development for the professors back then. Like I maxed out on research credit and internship credit, that's I basically didn't even finish my, I mean, I guess technically I got my bachelor's, but I don't know, maybe. I ended up getting a job in internet development. And so I missed out on my lifelong dream of being a love doctor on the radio. That's what I wanted to be all throughout when I was in the Navy.
That's
pretty funny. All right. So, sorry.
So let me ask you kind of something I've been stewing on over the last few weeks, kind of out there, but I'm curious what you think about it. The Tonight Show, the Daily Show, the talk shows, they all, during COVID-19, they all went to their houses.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, and I could be very wrong, but to me, it seems like that's the kiss of death for that type of medium. Because what you've done is you've taken all the production out and you've just democratized personalities. And so Trevor Noah has a good personality, but there's 350 million Americans and a lot of them have a good personality. And now even a ding-a-ling like me, right, with a nice camera and a high-speed internet connection, which doesn't cost that much, right? We're essentially production quality equal. Now he's got a writer's room and jokes, but there's plenty of people that could go toe-to-toe with him for a fraction of the cost.
I know it. Yeah.
And so I look at that and I say, you guys have just taken away the audience was the weapon. That's the one thing you had.
That's right.
You took that away and you did it instantly because they thought, we need to continue to produce content. But my thinking now is, I look at them like anybody could do it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, and something that I actually posted about this a few weeks ago about, this, kind of the celebrity culture is like some of this stuff has been that, quote unquote celebrities have been doing is, it just hasn't really been landing very well. And when they don't have access to the writers, I mean, it definitely takes a team to produce a lot of what you see. And then there's also, it's kind of interesting, right? It's like when you go to Disney, so I live in Orlando. When you go to Disney World, the food there tastes better than it actually is because you're at Disney World, because there's this, oh my gosh.
It costs twice as much.
What's that?
Because it costs 3 times as much.
It does,
so
yeah, right. And so you forget about all of that. In reality, at Disney World, the joke is that they put all the food through the deflavorizer before they put it out on the table, so it doesn't offend anybody. And so we go to Disney a lot, and it's the ambiance. That's what you're paying for. You're at Disney. Reality, in my opinion, there's some exceptions to this, but it's just now. Why am I talking about this? Well, when we see someone on TV, there's also this, there's a laugh track, there's a live audience, there's a high production value. It's better than it actually is. So when you watch, I've even, like Saturday Night Live from home has been, the first one was actually really good. Second one is okay. But, when they remove the laugh track, it's like, listen, you live and die based on your performance alone. And some people are just excellent performers, at that sort of thing. And, having studied improv comedy for a year, I mean, I know how much, how important that is. Delivery and, connection with that audience is just so critical. And, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that right now, I think the world fast forwarded about 3 to 5 years over the past couple months. And I think that everyone is now seeing, it's kind of a little emperor has no clothes, but it's like, look at, the quality here with my favorite YouTubers. It's just as good as that. Again, it's authority through association. And this gets into, well, why do you still do media? Even though in reality, the audience on, someone, my local Fox 35 in Orlando, it might be 10,000 people watching at any one time. The audiences are really not that big compared to a lot of social media audiences. But why do big Fortune 500 companies still put those media logos? And Tony Robbins, has an enormous audience online, but why does he put a clip of himself on CNBC? It's because most people overvalue the visibility of media and they undervalue the authority that you get. So when you do have that association with NBC or something, whatever, like Sci-Fi Channel, whatever you're doing, right? You do that because it's validation. And so we look at traditional media as somehow being bigger than those of us just kind of sitting around at the nerd table. So when you share a media win with your audience, you're not doing it because you're bragging about, hey, look at me, I'm so wonderful. You're doing it because it validates the tribe. It validates what we're doing. And it's kind of like that third-party documentation beats conversation any day of the week. So if I can show you, a clip of me speaking for the Tony Robbins organization online, you'd be like, your opinion of Josh just went up a little bit. I hope maybe unless you don't like Tony Robbins. But I will commonly let people know. Now I signed a contract that I'm not allowed to promote it like on my front page. I wish I could. But it's that sort of thing.
I agree with you on a lot of that. And I must say that I watched a few of the SNL clips from home, and there was one, because improv, like, you feed off, like you said, you feed off everyone. I can't imagine.
And you feed off the crowd too. Oh
and
my
so
gosh.
At the very end of the clip, it was Pete Davidson in his basement, and they were doing one anyway. At the very last 10 seconds, he just goes, "Oh man, that's hard without an audience," and then it cuts. And I was like, see, like, and that was the best part of the whole clip to me, because I was just like, yes, like I could feel it, and it was just cool to me to see that. I haven't watched any more of it, but I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm glad he, like, authentic. And then there was one where Brad Pitt, like, took off the, at the end and said, like, hey, we appreciate this. So, like, they've tried to add in the authenticity of it, but it's definitely been strange watching and thinking, like, man, that's exactly what I do, or what that people can
actors who do stage and then go to film. Many of them will go back to stage because it's hard to do what you do without that instant feedback, and it's really addictive. I have, like I said, I only did improv for 1 year, and I was a play in high school, so I'm not speaking as an actor by any means. Like, I'm such a hack on that. But having done that for a year, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I've done a lot of public speaking, and I love that. I mean, that's like so fun to be able to do that. But there's, that it's immediacy is what it is that we're after. It's why is a live video engaging with someone on Zoom, for example, more powerful than asynchronous video? It's because you have immediacy. You have the feedback of people engaging with you in real time. And so, when you think about sales, it's really important that you try to do all you can to increase time together, make it insanely easy for people to spend time with you. And the higher touch you can make it, the better. So if you can if you can get someone to spend a few hours with you live video, I mean, live in person is the best of all. But then, live video, I'd say would be, second, then there would be maybe like a one-to-many live video might be in there where you can kind of ask questions. There's still some feeling of immediacy, but then asynchronous video, where I record a video and I'm talking directly to you and I send it. Like, I do that. Like, if you know my systems, like, even if nothing else, you want to see and learn, like, what I've learned about what works today with consumers, just engage with me somehow, some way at UpMyInfluence, so UpMyInfluence.com, so you can see how we use video for everything. Short video. What's that say?
It didn't come through, but I've gotten several emails that look like this, and it's Josh saying, like, "Hey, Dave," and then you click it, and it's a personalized video for you.
Yep, I got my little whiteboard, and I begin every video waving my hand, holding the whiteboard with your name on it. Yeah, I
love it.
It works. Hey, people love it. Like, so I use, and there's a couple others out there. I use BombBomb, and I'm a BombBomb power user. At a minimum, I'm sending 10, 15 a day. And that's what moves our sales forward without question.
Woo! We'll be back with the show in just a minute, but I wanted to take a brief second and say that, look, you are already obviously investing in yourself by listening to this podcast. But if you can't figure out how to get past all that daunting crap that you just don't know how to sort through, and you're trying to get started in real estate investing and you're just stuck, I mean, it happens to all of us. It's daunting. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know everything there is to know, and you don't know really where to find all the information. So that is why I created the Real Estate Investing for Beginners 0 to 1 course, which is solely designed to get you from I want to invest in real estate to holy crap, I have a rental and it's cash flowing. And this course is not going to be anything super complicated that you won't be able to understand. It is just designed to teach you how to build a team, find investments, finance investments, conduct due diligence, close on the investment, and then operate it so that you can enter the real estate investing world smoothly. So if that sounds like something that interests you, definitely check out the link below, and it's cheap as hell right now.
So to kind of refute my earlier point, but also I'm trying to look at this at all sides. So like, the COVID-19 comes along, the world supposedly stops, and everybody goes to Zoom. Everybody goes to content. It's super hard, which I've been doing the same thing, right? I love it. And, to what I was saying earlier, like Saturday Night Live goes to virtual content. Daily Show goes to virtual content. Mm-hmm. But two things I think are happening. The first was what I just said, like, hey, look, you're realizing that if it's digital, it's democratized. You have very little additional benefit that you would have if you had the audience, right? And so, but the other side of this is, now, certainly some people are really enjoying not having to go out in public, right? There are those people that are like, oh, I get to stay home all day. This is amazing. But I also think there's people like me that I always knew, or I always assumed that in-person contact was at a much higher value than digital, right? Even one-on-one conversations like this, like you're saying, not just me talking on camera, me talking to you like this, but it certainly doesn't replace human contact, physical, face-to-face, the body language.
Right.
Now, do you think that when we all come out of this in some fashion, that, the conference world, people are worried that it's, going to die, but I think actually it's going to increase because people who value that are going to be like, I really need the human contact, really can't be replaced. So I think we are seeing maybe a little bit of both. There's a democratization of the virtual, but also maybe a higher value on the smaller but necessary human connection.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at, how events like, the Great Depression and 9/11 and the recession in 2008, like how this stuff impacted culture and society. And this is a generation we're going to forever be impacted by this. I mean, there are already indicators. The restaurant industry has known that, especially like Gen Z and millennials don't like going to sit down restaurants. Like they're already just saying, look, I'd rather just be at home with, with my gaming system and all this other stuff and just connecting like, my own, like that was already moving in that direction. Again, I think the world fast forwarded about 3 to 5 years, and the things that I think we were already on the way to doing and becoming more so. So getting to your point on events, I don't know, but all I know is that if I were a speaker today, I would pitch myself as a speaker who can deliver an in-person experience virtually if necessary. And so I would really invest in having a great home studio and say, listen, if we're going and all of a sudden, the virus comes and we all have to distribute again, and this ends up being a virtual event, I want you to see, look what I've got set up here. I'm ready to go, and I can still deliver results. So I that's how I would present myself if I were a speaker today.
I like
fair
that.
point.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like in person is very special. But I'm nervous that this is a generation now. At the very least, we're all going to turn into a little bit of Howie Mandel, where we're going to be like, not want to get too close to other people.
Oh no, I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
Everybody's
I think you're right about that. I think I personally am not a fan of that. That's just me as one individual. I mean, I know some people are like, oh, great, I didn't want to talk. I didn't. There's a lot of people out there that are like, I didn't want to talk to you or touch you ever anyway. And so this is perfect. I'm okay virtual, but it is an interesting dynamic. And I do agree that in some fashion it'll shift. I mean, there are people that are not going to go to conferences ever again. And I hope that that's not the case in bulk. I hope that there'll still be some conferences, even if there's maybe less. I do agree that the mass of it, like it was even 6 months ago, is probably going to be quite different.
Again, my advice on this is, when you see disruptions in the marketplace, ask yourself, how am I likely to be impacted by this long term? How will this change how I do things? And ask other people, and try to get a feel for what consumers are going to do. Because, they always say, trends are your friends. And listen, sometimes, a great example is with Savings Angels. So, at our high watermark in 2011, we're a 7-figure a year company. And then we weren't. And so it's because we rode the trend, and the trend was, extreme couponing. So the recession, we launched in 2007, 2008, the recession hit. And then it was a wonderful, wonderful rise between 2008 and 2011. And then it just kind of slowly tapered off from then. And, it's like, you can argue with markets all you want. And I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, markets win. You have to give the market what it wants, and you're not smarter than the market, right? You can be smarter than the market in your own mind. And I could say, consumers, what are you, ridiculous? Why would you pay full price for groceries? Hey, they want to. That, and I can't change that. And so if consumers have spoken, and you just need to continue to give them. So, right now with UpMyInfluence, one thing we do really, really well is two things we do really well. We get our clients, we turn them into media celebrities. And so we take them from invisible to seen and celebrated. And then we also are very, very good at building B2B sales systems. So much so that, we could double the investment that they pay with us. It's kind of a big ticket item for us to build that for them. But when it's built, we guarantee that they'll make $50,000 from their $25,000 investment. Now, when we initially launched that, and I can only offer that now because I've done it long enough. And that's what we could talk about, like risk reversal and guarantee, and which I think is really important for consumers today. Like speak in terms of like, what is the outcome that they really want? And if you got to find a way to get there, you got to find a way to say, even if you got to charge more money, but you could still guaranteed results. That's consumers really are expecting that. But when we first launched, we did our B2B sales system ourselves, and we were able to grow our sales pipeline. We had about $20,000 monthly recurring revenue last year, May. By November of last year, again, not including what we had on the books, but that was over $200,000 monthly recurring revenue in our pipeline. Again, not closed. So that's what we got really good at doing ourselves. We had a couple of clients that were like, hey, what are you doing? Can you do that for us? We're like, sure. So the first one we did it for was a mastermind, and they sold 3 $25,000 masterminds in 60 days. They made $75,000. At the time, we only charged them $3,000. And I'm like, well, that was dumb. Instead, I should have said, I'll do it, but I want a piece of the action. And
what's the name of that charity?
Yeah. So now that's what we do. We're really picky on who we can work with, because we know who we work really, really well for and who we don't work for. But, we just don't work with that. We used to like, we'll work with anybody and kind of test it out and charge them. And we offered a done with you solution. The market said, oh, okay, I guess we'll try that. But overwhelmingly, we learned a couple things. People go one of two directions. Either we end up doing everything for them anyway, and it ends up being done for you, and they're successful. And we got, one client's like an intellectual property law attorney, got him 37 appointments in 1 week. And so it's like, well, if I can do that for him, I can do this for about anybody who passes all of our tests. But that was one thing that we put it out to the market. Oh, I was going to say the other group of people, they didn't do anything. Like they honestly paid us like $4,000 and did nothing. And we're like, you have to do this. You have to do this part. You have to do this part. And they're like, yeah, I know, but I'm too busy. I'm like, you gave me $4,000. Yeah, I know, but I'm too busy to get to that. These other guys got 37 appointments and you have 0. Yeah, I know, but I'm too busy working in my business, or, working for my business. It happens. So that's why we just don't do done with you anymore. Like we need to take charge of everything. And if we could take charge of everything, then we can offer a guarantee on our results because we know our ability.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And it's, at least you're selling, it's good to hear you selling a product that you've got a good test bed for, good, proof of concept. And then I like that too. You're like, hey, look, I underpriced myself in the beginning to give more value than I took. And then once I knew my value, you probably still underprice it, but at least you're getting your fair share now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, reality, once this system is set up, we expect our clients to do about $500,000 if again, we're involved and we're doing everything for them. And, we will probably increase our price again, especially on the, we'll only take on one client a month and okay, we're going to work together for 3 years here. And our goal is to get you to 7 figures. That'll probably be the next phase of how we do things. So just because, again, if we can control it, we have enough data. At the beginning, you don't, right? And so, when you've got a minimum viable product, everything's going to be way inefficient. But that's okay. You're going to end up doing a lot of work. You're kind of figuring this stuff out, and then you're gathering data, and you're gathering testimonials, and you're gathering experience, so that you don't take a bath by making a bad business decision in who you work with in the future.
Yeah,
smart.
Some incredible stuff. All right, I'm a backtrack a decade. So I know you mentioned you had several business ventures that did not work out before Savings Angel took off. I guess my question would be, what was the catalyst? Do you know, was there something you did, or was it just the right product, the right time? What do you think played into the one that finally, because now it's 2 that have taken off, at least 2 that I know of that have taken off.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I went through bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy, lost a home to foreclosure, lost another home in a short sale, had to live with my in-laws, with 2 young kids for almost a year. I've been through all that stuff, and it sucks. And it sucks as a guy, especially culturally, if you can't provide for your family. It's what's wrong with you? Get your stuff together. I knew... some of the businesses did okay for a while. And ultimately, though, they all kind of crumbled. I think at the beginning, my initial fear was, I was afraid of selling because I had in my mind an idea of what sales was. And sales was trying to convince people of stuff. And so it really messed with my head. And it's not at all. So sales is really just kind of the transference of value, and you have to give more value than you accept. And if you don't think that that's the case, then you need to adjust what you're doing until you get to the point where you are convinced that the value that you offer way outperforms what you're selling. And so you got to keep working on product development until you get to that point emotionally. Otherwise, it's going to mess you up in sales. So, with our PR services, 1/4 the cost of a normal PR firm. And I know from experience, having blown $25,000 on PR with Savings Angel, I'm like, that was stupid. I was doing way better than what they did doing it myself. And so I'm like, really, that's the best that this industry can provide small business owners? Well, it's a broken system. So there was an opportunity there that, that we were able to help out with. But in terms of, failure, it's those failures now, it really sucks to go through. But what I want you to imagine is especially if you're going through this right now, as you're listening to this conversation, you're writing the story right now, and it sucks. But if there's any kind of helpful point of view on when you're going through a difficult situation, just know that you're writing the most exciting part of the book right now. And the most exciting part is when you're facing adversity and you're really being put through the crucible, and, you're going to get on the other side of that. And it's, failure is always found or success is always found on the backside of failure. And so when you have something really bad happen, I would love if you could kind of reprogram yourself to get a little excited about that, because if you can overcome this thing, you're going to have a success. So I like to do that when weird, bad stuff happens. Why did that client all of a sudden quit? Or why did this person, say something, uncomfortable to hear? And it's okay, well, there's a lesson here for me. And we always grow the most when we go through some of those moments of discomfort. We learned this through the military, which is why I think, a lot of, veterans are generally pretty good in many aspects of business ownership. And I'd say that the areas that veterans are really good at is you need that grit and that determination, that willing to keep on going, when times are tough. Now, I will also say, and I've noticed this now in serving the military community quite a bit, is that sometimes we get a little pigheaded, and we don't stop to be coachable. And even when we are coachable, we don't really, we don't, it's just, I'm just going to work harder. I'm just going to work harder. I'm just going to work harder. Working hard is not always the best solution. If it's broken, and, I believe in working hard to get something, to kind of really vet it out as best as possible. But at the end of the day, we also need to be really coachable and responsive to what people are asking for. And if people are just not asking for what we're doing, be willing to shift and say, well, what do you need? What can I give you? And that's one thing I would say. My mom and my mother-in-law was just asking me about, you've done all this kind of pro bono work for military audiences. What have you noticed? I'm like, really, really great on the hard work ethic, not real coachable sometimes. And it's frustrating for someone who's been doing this as long as I've been doing. It's like, and I know one question you're going to ask me is like, if you're sitting down with an E1, E2, E3, you provide them some advice, it's like, well, my dream would be that they truly would listen. The reality is it's like a lot of younger folks, not a lot, but a significant portion of them, it's like they're just not ready to be coachable yet. And coachability is, if I can get someone who's coachable and willing to work hard, that's someone who's going to be very successful.
Yeah.
18 plus a little bit of military background, bad combination of arrogance. And I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself, but I think that's kind of the case, right? You're like,
oh yeah, I was that way.
Yeah. I'm 18. I got a little bit of money. I got some job security, and apparently I'm the savior of the nation. Yeah, you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like the perfect segue, Josh, into that question. What would you tell an E1, E2 if you had a little bit of time to give them some advice for life?
Yeah. Philosophically, I very much, I'm a fan of, pulling oneself up by their own bootstraps kind of thing. I've generally always been a bootstrapper. I don't need investors. I don't need the government to bail me out. So, familiar with Ayn Rand, I would say, read Atlas Shrugged. You might not like it, and you might argue against some aspects of her philosophy, and that's fine. But the one thing that I really appreciated, and that kind of already fit with my personality, is that I will succeed based on my own merits. And it's not to say that I won't learn from as many people as possible and really try to adapt as well as possible. But what I'm not going to do is blame anyone else. And that's the biggest message that I picked up from Atlas Shrugged. It's a 1,200-page book. It's a fiction novel. And honestly, I think you could do just fine listening to the 8-hour abridged version. And for the first couple hundred pages of the book, you're going to be like, what? What's going on? Why does he like this book? I don't get it. But by the time you get into the 400, 500, that territory in the book, you'd be like, okay, I see what's going on and I get it. And again, you want to get to the point where you don't need if the market doesn't want your product, it's not the market's fault. It's your fault. You need to give the market what it's need. You need to solve a problem better than anyone else. And if you're not, then you haven't earned that. You haven't earned those rewards. So go out and do it yourself and quit whining about it. Quit being a baby. Just go out and do the thing. And I say that with love, by the way, because it sucks. I know what it's, it really sucks when things aren't working out, but don't do this out of desperation, but do it out of, philosophically, I know that this concept works. Solve a problem better than anyone, and you don't even have to worry about the money. The money will absolutely be there. Sometimes you have to work at it quite a bit, and you got to be your own best publicist, which is, kind of again where we come in, at UpMyInfluence.
Can I just say that I love Ayn Rand, and she gets a terrible, terrible rep in the public sphere, right? People take her to the extreme, but her idea of individualism is I didn't read Atlas Shrugged yet. It's on my list. I read Fountainhead, her other dreary 900-page novel, which is about the same. But man, that was a powerful. Actually, I read Mark Cuban once. He goes, "That's my favorite book. I read it every 2 years." I said, I got to check it out. Read it. Amazing. I highly recommend it. It's a very polarizing person, Ayn Rand. If you say the name, people get all spooked, but most of them haven't read the actual books. They just hear that anyways, but I think that's great advice.
Yeah, so she's from former communist Russia, so that absolutely flavors her background and experience. And at the same time, politically, like I believe the mark of a civilized society is the safety net that we can take care of one another and that we could do well by one another. So I'm not saying that there's not merit in that. But I am a big believer in the individual being able to follow one's own conscience and make those decisions for themselves. And if we're true all conscious capitalists, then there is no need. Why did Savings, why did I launch Savings Angel is because I believe that is absolutely the best way to end hunger, lack, and need in your communities is empower everybody with more than enough to give. And sure enough, Savings Angel helped facilitate millions and millions and millions of dollars of giving. That's why we do what we do, because we want to make the world a better place. With UpMyInfluence, it comes down from my core belief that I believe that everybody has a message that could possibly impact the world. What I'm not a fan of is some people having more of a platform than others. I believe everyone should have equal access to the platform, and you got to earn your way there. And by the way, I can help you earn that. And so there's an innate sense of fairness, but at the same time, I'd say objectivism, which, Ayn Rand's a fan of, it's just meritocracy. Anyone can get there, but you should earn your way there. And if you'll do the hard work and you'll learn from other people, you can absolutely have it's learned knowledge, right? It's modeling knowledge. Do the thing, Arthur Schopenhauer, German philosopher, do the thing, have the power. If you just do what someone does, you can have those same results. Do it in your own way, in your own voice, and, learn from the masters. And that's why, someone's listening to this conversation right now. This is part of that. You got to learn, what other people who have been down the road, made plenty of mistakes, got their nose bloodied a bunch of times. Give yourself the shortcut. You have the luxury of learning from other people. Don't discount that just because, this information is everywhere. Not every teacher is going to resonate with you. Not every teacher is good, but, certainly try to shortcut the path as much as possible by learning from other people's mistakes.
Awesome. All right. So I always ask, what is one resource, a book, course, website, whatever, that you would recommend to anybody getting started in business? Is Atlas Shrugged the answer, or is there another one that you would
go get the abridged version on Audible or whatever, the 8-hour version. Another one I would recommend, if you're either going to be open to this or you're not, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And I'll tell you that that's one book that, it reads like an old-timey book. It's definitely written in that style, I think 1920s. And as well, it's an unusual book in that at the beginning, he offers a promise. And I'll give you a clue. And the promise is some people are going to read this book at this level, and some people are going to read this book at this level. And I can't, I can only promise that when you figure it, he says this, when you figure it out, you're going to see what I'm writing on a whole nother level. And I have a theory on what that is. And I'll just point out is watch for disclaimers, which it's a weird pattern that he does in that book. He'll drop a bombshell on, talking about like Henry Ford or Edison, I forget who it was, going into a closet in solitude for an hour or more and to clear his head. But he comes out with all of this inspiration that he claims that he gets from just, this intelligence that he taps into. And he goes, but of course, this could all just be a figment of his imagination and blah, blah. No, you don't worry about that, right? Well, that was weird. Why did you tell me that? And then go through this whole disclaimer on this, right? And the disclaimer is there for people who they're not ready for it. Maybe there is something to that. And I could say, from my own sense, like my best, it's like when people say I get my best ideas in the shower. Maybe you're starting to tap into something. It's like, maybe there is, a deeper, maybe it's just your brain, just, your ability to tap into a subconscious or whatever, when you quiet and maybe there's something to that. And again, I say maybe because again, I'm doing the same thing with the disclaimer, but read that book, Think and Grow Rich, and it will change your life if you're open to it. If you're not open to it, you'd be like, this guy's a little kooky every once in a while. But all I can tell you is I've talked to enough people whose lives have completely changed when they really adapted those principles.
I had to read that one twice. I read it once. I was too young. I said, yeah, just think it and it'll happen. That's nonsense. And then I got a little bit older. It was probably 10 years in between reads. And the second time I was like, this guy knows. And I think, and he says it in the book. And I think that is the case. I'm not a super ultra big fan of the book personally. It's just not for my style, but that is correct. I mean, you got to read that book with the right mindset, and it does work. It is. Yeah.
And you'll read it at different levels every time. And there's like so many good books. The most important thing I think is that you become a constant, just become a student and, stay coachable, stay hungry. Don't ever think that you've got life locked down. The moment, you believe that you are the master, I mean, we can become the master at some things, but, never stop being the student.
Love it. Yeah.
That's my biggest piece of advice.
Napoleon Hill has some other controversial books too, and they're interesting reads, but I'm a fan. All right. So where can people get a hold of you, Josh, if they'd like to follow up?
Yeah, so we do a lot of stuff pro bono. I generally don't sell stuff to early stage entrepreneurs. It's just, we're doing fine, but we generally just give it all away. And so we give away what other people charge thousands of dollars for in their $9.97 e-courses and junk. Like you could just have that stuff for free. Like we give it away on YouTube, our own podcasts. You could search right now for The Thoughtful Entrepreneur. It's a daily podcast. And I interview people that are doing six figures a year or more in business. And I ask them hard questions and we get, there's a lot of good stuff. But yeah, if you just go to UpMyInfluence.com and in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see all of our social media. One thing I give away, absolutely worth thousands of dollars, is our Authority Transformation Masterclass. It's free. Yep. I'm not going to sell you on, we have an My Influence community that it might be appropriate for you if you're at the right level. But otherwise, if you're not, man, just go through, download my resource guide. It's free. It's free, man. Just go tap into all that stuff. And, when you're ready and, you got money coming in, we could pour some gas on some fire if you're interested. But yeah, UpMyInfluence.com and you'll see all the free stuff.
Love it. And I definitely liked the Authority Transformation Masterclass. Yeah. It's good stuff. So, Josh, I know we all got to run. Thank you very much for coming on the show. This has been great. Some very, very good insight for the listeners, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, always David and Alex, you guys are good guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.